Hey, what's going on there, Dice Rolls? Paul here, and I'll be your DM for a while. Listen, are you on a tight budget and you can't afford cool little minis like this? Well, you know what? That is okay, because today I have some options for you to be able to use, whether it's for characters or whether it's for terrain. And if you can't afford all that stuff, you don't need all that stuff to run epic games. And I'm going to give you a simple tool to do that. So let's go ahead and take a little trip to the table, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, first, let's go ahead and start with combat and encounter ideas for using your beads. So let's say you have a gnoll fighting with your party here, and let's say you want to keep track of their hit points, or you want to be able to say, hey, this is where this monster is at this point. You could say that your blue die, your blue bead here, could say, hey, that means they're at full health. When they get to a certain point and you want to signify that they are low, you could change it and say, okay, that person is low. You don't have to give away the exact hit points, but you could across the board say, okay, this person's at this many hit points or this many hit points, whether they're low or high or somewhere in between if you wanted to do that. And that way, the player's characters could decide whom they want to hit. Another thing you could do is for loot, you could put a bunch of these in a little treasure chest or a little bag or something like that, something maybe like this if you want to use something like that. These are 10 gold pieces, these are 20 gold pieces, these are worth 30 gold pieces, and these are worth 50 gold pieces, you know, for whatever reason. If you want to say, look, let's keep our money system to where these just represent so much and everything in your game costs either 10, 20, 30 or 50 gold pieces. If you want to do something fun where a magic item, instead of rolling on a table, these could represent, like you could have these inside of a bag like this, like I said, and these could represent common, uncommon, rare, or extra rare, or you know, wondrous or something like that, and they pull out the item and say, oh, that's going to be that kind of item. Then you can go ahead and maybe roll on that particular table and say, well, that's the magic item or the treasure you're going to get. You could also use these as markers for, let's say you're in a combat and your wizard is going to cast a spell, and you say, okay, they're going to cast a spell and they're going to poison them. Okay, so now that you can use these as markers, say, okay, they're poisoned, or they're being held, the little kobold there's being held, or the goblin here is, let's say they're blinded, and all of these could represent some sort of effect that is now on those monsters. Now, of course, you want to keep a little chart next to you, which with the colors that will let you know which one is which. Keeping with the theme of spells, let's say you have all your enemies over here, and somebody wants to do a wall of fire. Well, you have some red ones here. You can go ahead and just say, hey, here's a wall of fire. And the monsters cannot get around that. That's where they have to get across. So they have to be able to figure out how they're going to get across this wall of fire. Or maybe they have their own wizard over here and they're casting wall of fire. And then you guys have to figure out then how you're going to get across that wall of fire. You could also use these here. Let's say you want to use the yellow ones. Maybe you want to use the yellow ones for some sort of poison, and maybe there's a poisonous gas that's somewhere around there that's starting to fill up the room, and they could be all over the board. Okay, so let's go ahead and say that you have no minis, no terrain at all, and these could represent your characters. Each person takes a color, and that's your party. Let's say you don't have, like I said, the cool monsters or minis. You don't need them. Let's say you only have one kobold. But you say, okay, I want to have more. Well, then why not go ahead and put and say, this is your lead. This is the big boss kobold, the leader kobold. And these are the same colors to represent all the other kobolds that are there. Or if you have multiple monsters at the same time. So let's say there's a chief goblin. And you can put a bunch of other little goblins there and say, oh, those are all going to represent those goblins. And not only can they represent things like extra kobolds or extra goblins or things like that, but they could also represent slimes. So let's say you have different colored slimes that are out there, and each one of those could be whatever, yellow slime. If you have, this could be green slime, and these could be slimes that are moving across the board that are now trying to surround your characters. Or maybe they're falling from the ceiling and you just drop them on the board, and wherever they land, that's where they land. Okay, guys, if you're still watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. These could also represent elementals. So if you wanted to have a fire elemental, You could use orange for fire elementals, and this for water elementals. This could be a lava elemental or a mephit. The yellow ones could represent earth elementals. Or maybe instead of water, maybe this could be ice. As far as terrain goes, you could always use these as pools of water. If you wanted to put them in there and lump them together, that could be a little pool of water. It could be a well or something like that. Here you could have little lava pits. So maybe there's a lava pit there, or a lava pit there, and a lava pit there, something that your players have to be able to navigate. And of course, you could make them as big as you want. So if you wanted to make a larger pool of water and make it more treacherous, you could do that. Or if you wanted to make your lava pit bigger, maybe they have to cross a chasm of lava, and you could put all your lava beads right in there, and they have to be able to figure out how they're going to cross this. If you want to use them for different kinds of terrain, well, you can always use these as columns. So put your columns here, and that way your players then can find places around there. If they want to hide behind a column, they can do that. Or if you wanted to make these more like rocks and you wanted to put rocks in there, well, put some strange, weird looking rocks that they have to, jump, and maybe they have to get across, maybe they have to get across the lava. The only way to get across the lava is if I put that lava there, and they have to be able to navigate that. And they have these rocks that are in the lava, and they have to simply go across, and they have to do some checks to get across the lava. You could also use these as puzzles and traps. So let's say you had these 4-color beads. You had 4-color beads here, and your players have to figure out what order they have to push these in. So they're like coming up to the thing there, and they go, oh, this door's only going to open as if you punch these 4 beads in the correct order. Or they have to move them around. Maybe there's some things on the ground, and they have to place them in a certain place. Otherwise, a trap is sprung. Maybe there's a scale here, and you tell them there's a scale, and there's a weighted scale, and they have to be able to put so many of these kind here and so many of these kind here. And then for when they balance out, then you can go ahead and open the door. You could also make let's say you made a portal of some kind. Put a portal there, and then characters have to step on top of the portal, and the rest of these beads act as some sort of navigation system where you have to either put them in a certain order or touch them in a certain order, and that portal will then take a character to another room. Now, as far as exploration and storytelling, maybe you want to go ahead and use these as some sort of fortune-telling system, kind of like an 8-ball, where if they pull, that's yes, that's no, that's maybe, and that's disaster. So let's say that you go ahead and put some, in a bag, have them choose one, and that's going to be the answer. The answer is yes, no, maybe, or disaster. Maybe at the beginning of an adventure, you're given these beads that you have to leave at altars throughout. Maybe the dungeon is of a deity, and some of these represent offerings that you have to make. And throughout the course of the dungeon, maybe there are goblins who are trying to steal these from you. And if you don't have enough of these, well, you're not going to get out of the dungeon. Maybe you could use these beads as potions. They could represent different kinds of potions, or you could use beads to then combine them and say, I'm going to put this and this and this together, and that makes a healing potion. Maybe there's a room where they could concoct their own potions. Some are good, some are not so good, but you would have a chart where you could say what these represent. And if they put these 3 together, that's a healing potion. If they put these 3 together, that's some sort of alchemist fire potion. If you add these, it could be some kind of elemental, water or fire. You could give your players some sort of star map, and these could all represent some sort of constellation where they have to match the constellations on the board with what is on the map. Last but not least, here's a few extra ideas. You can use, let's say, a bunch of these as a voting system. So let's say you give each person a yes and a no, and they have to choose a yes or a no, and each one of them have to then put it in their hands, and then they go ahead, when you say go, they open their hands, and that tells their vote. In addition, you could use this as a short straw method, like who's going to make the leap across the deadly lava? Who's going to go into that room first? Well, you could say, that the blue one is the short straw, and have everybody reach into the bag, pull out there, but they can't look. They have to just keep that in their hands so that when you say it's time to go, you say, open your hands. Oh, well, there's two there. There's two bad ones there. But whoever has the blue one is the person who's going to go ahead and take the leap across the lava. Last but not least, you could use these as a timer system. And let's say you don't want to use dice. Let's say you want to take these, and for every you have a little basket or something nearby, a little cup that you would say, I'm going to toss these in here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. Let's say you have 4 rounds to do something. So you say, okay, when the first round is up, you drop it into the little bucket and say, okay, round 1 is over. Round 2 is over. Round 3 is over. And then that signals them that they have to hurry up. All right, and that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I hope you enjoyed all the ideas that I shared today, and I hope that I saved you a ton of money. And if you'd like to buy a bag of beads like this, well, I put a link down below where you can purchase some for yourself. And if you really, really, really like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up button. That tells me you like the video and you want more of them. Last but not least, if you would like these ideas in a written form, well, I have a little Substack, and I'll put a link. There's a link down there below where you can sign up for my newsletter where I send out these ideas and you can have them for yourself. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I'll catch you guys in the next video.